I always believed my brother would never hurt me. Not really. Not in a way that mattered. You're staring at that blueprint like it owes you money, Marcus said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Just double-checking the Miller project numbers. I didn't look up. You said you'd send the final estimate by Friday. It's done. Sent it an hour ago. He grinned. That same easy grin he'd had since we were kids. Relax, Ethan. I got it handled. I believed him. I always believed him. Cole & Sons construction had been our father's dream before it was ours. Dad built it from nothing. One truck, a box of tools, and a stubborn refusal to quit. When he died last year, Marcus and I promised each other we'd keep it standing. Keep it ours. Sarah wants us over for dinner Sunday, I said. She's making that lasagna you like. I'll be there. Marcus stood, stretching, assuming Mom doesn't guilt me into visiting her instead. Bring her too. You know how she gets. He shrugged. Everything's a competition with her. Who calls more, who visits more. I laughed, but there was truth buried in it. Diane had always been proud of both of us, but proud in different ways. The way you're proud of a trophy versus proud of a tool that just gets the job done. Marcus was the trophy. I was fine being the tool. I told myself that didn't matter. Remember the treehouse? I asked. Marcus paused at the door. Which one? Dad built like 3 before he got it right. The last one, when you fell out trying to nail the roof on. I did not fall. I slid. You screamed the whole way down. I was 11, Ethan. You were 14. He laughed, and for a second, I saw him the way I always saw him. My big brother, arms crossed, standing on a half-finished platform while Dad handed him a hammer and said, "You don't rush good work, Marcus. You build it right, or you don't build it at all." I remembered handing up nails from the ground, too small to climb, watching them both like they were made of something stronger than other people. That treehouse stood for 6 years after Dad built it. Marcus and I used to sit up there some nights, talking about nothing, about everything. Dad would have liked seeing us running this place together, I said. Marcus's smile faded, just slightly. Yeah, he would have. Something in his voice caught me off guard, but I didn't chase it. I had no reason to. That evening, I called Mom before heading home. "Ethan, sweetheart," Diane said. "Did Marcus tell you about the Hendricks account? He closed it. Biggest client we've had all year." "That's great, Mom. He's really stepping up since your father passed. I worry about him carrying so much. He's not carrying it alone. I'm right there with him." Of course. A pause. "You've always been the steady one, Ethan. Marcus needs someone steady behind him. Behind him, not beside him." I let it go, the way I always did. "I love you, Mom." "Love you too, sweetheart. Tell Sarah I said hi." I hung up and sat in my truck a long moment, staring at nothing. Diane never meant to make me feel smaller. She just did it without noticing, the way water wears down stone without meaning to erode anything at all. The unease started 3 days later, buried in a spreadsheet I almost didn't open. I was reconciling the company account before tax season, something Marcus usually handled, but he'd been swamped with the Hendricks project. Line by line, the numbers looked normal until they didn't. Full withdrawals, $12,000 total. No invoices attached. No client names. No explanation. My stomach dropped. I told myself there was an easy answer. Equipment repairs. A vendor payment that hadn't been logged yet. Something simple. I called Marcus. "Hey, I'm looking at the account," I said. "There's some withdrawals I can't match to anything. 12 grand, split into 4 transfers." Silence on the line. Just a beat too long. "It's handled," Marcus said finally. "Handled how?" "There's no invoice, no note." "Ethan," I said, "it's handled." His voice sharpened. "Do you not trust me now? Is that where we are?" "I'm not saying that. I'm asking a question." "It sure sounds like an accusation." "Marcus, it's $12,000. "I know what it is," he snapped. "I don't need you auditing me like I'm some intern who can't be trusted with the books." The words hit harder than I expected. This wasn't the brother who handed me nails from a treehouse platform. This was someone sharper, colder, someone I didn't fully recognize. "I'm not auditing you," I said quietly. I'm trying to understand. Well, understand this. I've got it covered. Drop it. The line went dead before I could say another word. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the numbers on my screen, and for the first time in my life, I felt something I never thought I'd feel toward my own brother. Doubt. I didn't drop it. I couldn't. 2 days after the call, I met Tony at the diner near the office, the same booth we'd been sitting in since high school. 12 grand just disappears, and he tells you to drop it. Tony shook his head. That's not an answer, man. That's a wall. Maybe I'm overreacting. Are you? Because you don't sound like you believe that. Tony leaned forward. Ethan, I've known Marcus almost as long as I've known you. Something's off with him lately. He's been meeting some guy outside the Riverside site. Older man, expensive suit. Doesn't look like any contractor I've seen. My chest tightened. What guy? I don't know his name, but I saw him twice last week. Marcus didn't see me. Maybe it's a client. Clients don't meet in parking lots at 8 at night, Ethan. I stayed at my coffee, the steam curling up into nothing. You think he's hiding something? I think you already know he is. You just don't want to say it out loud. I found out the man's name 3 days later. Richard Hale, owner of Hale Development, our biggest rival for the last 5 years. I only knew that because Nina Park told me. Nina used to work for Hale before she quit. Disgusted, she said, by how he treated his people. She'd reached out to me weeks earlier about a possible job, and when I mentioned the name Richard Hale in passing, her face changed. Wait, Hale's been talking to your company, she asked. Apparently, my brother's been meeting with him. Ethan, Hale doesn't meet with competitors unless he's buying something. Information. Contracts. People. Buying what? Exactly. I don't know, but when I worked for him, he always had someone on the inside wherever he wanted to win. Someone feeding him bids before they went public. The room felt colder. You think Marcus is feeding him our bids? I think you need to find out before you lose more than $12,000. I went to see Mr. Vance that afternoon. Told myself it was about the will, about closing out Dad's estate paperwork. That was partly true. His office smelled like old paper and coffee, same as it had since I was a kid. Ethan, he motioned me to sit. I was wondering when one of you boys would come ask more questions. What do you mean, more questions? Vance folded his hands. Your father's will wasn't as simple as what you and Marcus were told at the reading. There were conditions, protections he wanted in place. What kind of protections? He hesitated, the way people hesitate when they're deciding how much truth someone can handle. I can't say more right now. It wouldn't be appropriate without both of you present, and frankly, without certain circumstances being met. Mr. Vance, please. Something's wrong. With Marcus. With the company. His eyes softened, just slightly. Your father knew his sons better than anyone, Ethan. He built in safeguards for a reason. If things go the way I fear they might, you'll understand soon enough. I left more confused than when I arrived. That night, I stopped by Marcus's place to return a drill he'd left at the site. He wasn't home. Rachel said he'd gone to grab dinner, but his phone sat charging on the kitchen counter, screen lit up with a message notification. I shouldn't have looked. I know that now. But I saw Rachel's name on the screen, and beneath it, a string of texts that stopped my heart cold. Rachel, Ethan called again asking about the withdrawals. He's suspicious. Marcus, let him be suspicious. He'll never figure it out. He's too busy playing hero at the office. Rachel, he's your brother, Marcus. Marcus, he's a pathetic shadow I have to babysit. Always has been. Dad's gone. I don't owe Ethan anything anymore. I read it 3 times, waiting for the word to rearrange into something that made sense. They didn't. A pathetic shadow. My own brother's words, sitting there in black and white, colder than anything I'd ever imagined him capable of saying. I set the phone down exactly where I found it and walked out before Rachel came back downstairs. I didn't trust my own voice. I confronted him the next evening, at Mom's house, of all places. I should have waited. I didn't have it in me. I saw the texts. Marcus, I said, the second we were alone in the kitchen. On your phone. About me being a shadow you babysit. His face went pale, then hardened fast. You went through my phone. It was already open. I wasn't looking for anything. That's an invasion of privacy, Ethan, and you know it. Don't turn this around. You called me pathetic. You said Dad being gone means you don't owe me anything. I was venting. People vent. Ethan, they say things they don't mean when they are stressed. Diane walked in just as his voice rose. What's going on in here? Nothing, Marcus said quickly, shooting me a look. Ethan went through my phone and read something out of context, and now he's making it a whole thing. I wasn't going through anything. He's been paranoid for weeks, Mom, accusing me of stealing money, now snooping through my messages. Marcus shook his head, the picture of wounded patience. I don't know what's gotten into him. Diane looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw something I never expected in her eyes. Suspicion, aimed at me. Ethan, she said carefully, maybe you're under too much stress. Maybe you should talk to someone. I stood there, betrayed twice in one conversation, and realized the brother I thought I knew had never really existed at all. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, subject line blank, sender listed as our own company's legal address. I opened it standing in my kitchen, coffee halfway to my mouth, and by the time I finished reading, the mug was on the floor in pieces and I hadn't even noticed dropping it. Notice of ownership transfer, Cole & Sons Construction LLC. My name was on it. My signature, right there at the bottom, next to a date I didn't remember signing anything on. I called the office before I even grabbed my keys. This is fake, I said the second Marcus picked up. I never signed any transfer paperwork. What is this? It's not fake, Ethan. His voice was flat, businesslike, a stranger's voice wearing my brother's name. Dad's estate had a clause. If one partner is found mismanaging funds, the other partner can petition for full ownership. I petitioned. The lawyer approved it. Mismanaging funds. I never. The missing $12,000, Ethan. The one you kept asking about. Turns out it traces back to an account only you had access to. The floor tilted under me. That's a lie. You know that's a lie. Do I? Because the paperwork says otherwise. You forged my signature. Careful, Marcus said, low and sharp. That's a serious accusation. One you can't prove. I drove to the office so fast I nearly ran a red light. When I got there, the locks had already been changed. My badge didn't work. I stood outside the building my father built with his own hands, locked out like a stranger, staring through the glass at the desk that used to be mine. Sarah found me an hour later, sitting in my truck in the parking lot, staring at nothing. Ethan. She climbed in the passenger side, her hand finding mine immediately. I got your text. Tell me what happened. I told her everything. The transfer, the forged signature, the locked doors, Marcus's voice like ice on the phone. That's insane, she said. That's actually insane. We need a lawyer. Today. I don't even know where to start. We start by not letting him win, Ethan. Look at me. She turned my face toward hers. I know this man used to be your brother, but whoever did this isn't him anymore. Or maybe he always was, and you just never wanted to see it. Her words cut deep, but they were kind, too. Steady. The only steady thing in a day that had ripped the ground out from under me. Thank you, I said quietly, for staying. Where else would I be? Diane called that evening, her voice tight with something I didn't recognize at first. Worry, maybe, or disappointment. Ethan, Marcus told me what happened, she said. About the account. Mom, I didn't touch that money. I don't even know how it traces back to me. Someone set this up. He showed me the paperwork. Your access codes, Ethan. Your login. Anyone with system access could use my login. Marcus had it. He set up half-hour accounts himself. Why would your brother frame you? He's devastated about this, Ethan. Absolutely devastated. I laughed, short and bitter, before I could stop myself. Devastated. Right. He changed the locks before I even knew what happened. Because a lawyer told him he had to protect the business. Ethan, please, I know you're upset, but you have to stop causing trouble for your brother. He's trying to hold this family together since your father died, and you're making it so much harder. Something inside me cracked, quiet and complete, like ice giving way underfoot. Mom, I am this family too. I know that, sweetheart. But no, you don't. My voice shook. You don't know that. You've never known that. It's always been Marcus this, Marcus that. Marcus closed the Hendricks account. Marcus is carrying so much. Marcus needs someone steady behind him. Not beside him, behind him. That's always been me. The one standing behind, holding things up so he could shine. Ethan, that's not Faye. None of this is Faye. The words tore out of me before I could stop them. I lost Dad too. I'm losing the business he built. And now I'm losing you, believing whatever story Marcus tells you, because it's easier than believing your golden son could do something this ugly. Silence stretched on the line, heavy and aching. I need you to calm down, Diane finally said, quiet. This isn't like you. Maybe you never really knew what I was like. I hung up before she could answer. I sat alone in my apartment that night, the city lights blurring through the window, and let myself feel all of it. The anger, the humiliation, the grief I thought I'd already finished grieving a year ago. Losing Dad had broken something in me once already. I remembered standing at his grave, Marcus's arm around my shoulders, both of us promising the business would survive because we'd protect it together. I believed that promise the way I believed in gravity, something so obvious it never occurred to me to question it. Now I sat here, locked out of the company Dad bled sweat into for 20 years, disowned in every way that mattered by the brother I trusted more than anyone alive, and doubted by the mother who raised me. It felt like losing him twice, once in the ground, and once in the sun he left behind wearing his name like a mask. My phone buzzed. A text from Tony. Tony, heard what happened. I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there. I stayed at the message a long moment, throat tight, eyes burning. For the first time since Dad died, I didn't feel steady at all. I felt like I was drowning, and the only person who should have thrown me a rope was the one holding my head under the water. Tony showed up with 2 coffees and a look on his face like he already knew what I was thinking. You want to burn his life down, he said, sitting across from me. I can see it on you. Wouldn't you? Yeah, I would. He slid one of the coffees toward me. Doesn't mean it's the right move. He forged my signature, Tony. He stole the company. He turned my own mother against me. Tell me why I shouldn't destroy him. Because if you go after him with anger, you'll make mistakes. He'll twist it, just like he twisted the withdrawals, just like he twisted Diane. You go in swinging, you become the villain in his story. You go in with proof, you become impossible to argue with. I hated that he was right. So what? I just sit, hey, let him keep everything. No, you get smart. You get quiet. You build a case so solid he can't lie his way out of it. Tony leaned forward. Revenge feels good for about 5 minutes, Ethan. The truth lasts forever. I stayed at my coffee, steam curling up same as it had the day this all started. When did you get so wise? Watching you almost ruin your life for the last 2 weeks. Learned a lot. I almost laughed. Almost. I went to see Mr. Vance the next morning, and this time, I didn't leave without answers. He forged my signature, I said, dropping into the chair across from his desk. He locked me out of the company. My mother thinks I stole money. I need to know what you were talking about last time. The conditions in Dad's will. Vance studied me for a long moment, like he was weighing something heavy. Your father came to me 18 months before he passed, he said finally. He was worried, Ethan. Not about you. About Marcus, and about what might happen between you two if trust ever broke down. He thought this might happen. He hoped it wouldn't, but he prepared for it anyway. Vance rose, walked to a small safe behind his desk, and pulled out a sealed envelope, yellowed slightly at the edges. My name and Marcus's name were written across the front in Dad's handwriting. My chest ached just looking at it. He left this with strict instructions, Vance said, only to be opened if the two of you ever turned against each other. I was hoping I'd never have to hand it to you. My hand shook as I broke the seal. Ethan, if you're reading this alone, something's gone wrong between you and your brother, and it's breaking my heart even from wherever I am now. I want you to know something the official paperwork doesn't say plainly enough. The company was never meant to belong to just one of you. I split ownership evenly between you both, 50-50. Protected under trust clause. Vance drew up separately from the standard estate documents. No single partner petition, no mismanagement claim, nothing can override that clause without both signatures verified by an independent notary, not just filed paperwork. I built safeguards because I know my sons. I know how much Marcus wants to prove himself, and I know how much you tend to trust without question, Ethan. If someone tried to take advantage of that trust, this letter is your shield. Don't let anger win. Fight with truth. That's how you honor everything I built. I love you both. I always will. Dad. I sat there for a long time, the letter trembling slightly in my hands, tears blurring the ink until I could barely read it anymore. He knew. I whispered. He actually knew this could happen. Your father was a careful man, Vance said gently. He loved you both. He just understood people don't always act like the people we hope they'll be. This clause, it means Marcus's transfer isn't even legal. If this letter is what I believe it is, no. His petition relied on sole ownership authority he never actually had. Bring this to a lawyer, Ethan. A real one, ready to fight. You have more power here than you realize. For the first time in weeks, something inside me steadied. That night, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown, it's Rachel. Please don't tell Marcus I texted you. My pulse jumped. I typed back carefully. Me? I'm listening. Rachel, I've seen things. Bank transfers to Richard Hale. Emails about bids being shared before they are public. I have copies. I couldn't say anything before. I was scared. But what he did to you, forging your signature, that's not okay. That's not something I can pretend not to see anymore. Me? Why tell me now? Rachel, because I still believe in doing what's right, even if it costs me my marriage. Can we meet? Somewhere he won't know about. I stayed at the screen, heart pounding somewhere between hope and disbelief. Me? Name the place. I'll be there. I set the phone down and looked at Dad's letter still sitting open on my table, his handwriting steady and sure even after death, like he'd reached across time to hand me exactly what I needed. Revenge would have felt good for 5 minutes. Tony was right about that. But this, the letter, Rachel's message, the truth finally within reach, this felt like something stronger. It felt like justice, finally within my grasp, and for the first time since that email arrived on a Tuesday morning, I felt like I might actually win. Rachel met me at a coffee shop across town, a folder pressed tight against her chest like it might bane her if she let go too soon. I brought everything, she said, sliding into the booth. Bank statements, emails between Marcus and Hale. I copied it all before he could delete anything. Nina leaned in from beside me, scanning the first few pages. This is worse than I thought. He wasn't just leaking bid information. He was taking payments for it. $15,000, Rachel said quietly, wired through a shell account. That's separate from whatever he did to you, Ethan. Tony let out a low whistle. That's not just a family dispute anymore. That's fraud. I know. Rachel's voice cracked. I should have said something sooner. I was scared of what he'd do, what people would think of me. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand once. You're doing the right thing now. That matters. Sarah organized everything that week. Dad's letter, Rachel's documents, the falsified transfer paperwork, into a case file thick enough to sit heavy in my lap. Our lawyer says this is airtight, she told me, sitting cross-legged on our living room floor, papers spread around her like a battlefield map. The trust clause your father set up completely invalidates Marcus's petition. He never had the authority to transfer sole ownership. And the Hale stuff. That's criminal, not just civil. Fraud, corporate espionage. Once this goes to the right people, he's not just losing the company. He's facing real charges. I sat back, processing the weight of it. A month ago, I'd been locked out of my father's business, doubted by my own mother, betrayed by the person I trusted most. Now the ground was finally shifting back towards something like justice. I don't want to enjoy this as much as I do, I admitted. You're allowed to, Sarah said gently. He did this to himself, Ethan. You're just making sure the truth catches up to him. Nina heard through old contacts that Hale Development was quietly under review. Apparently Marcus's greed had made him careless, cutting corners on multiple projects to keep the illegal payments flowing. 2 contracts fell through in a single week when clients noticed inconsistent paperwork. His unraveling on his own. Nina told me over the phone, "You almost don't need to do anything. I still need the truth on record. For Dad. For me. Then you'll get it." I heard Detective Owens caught wind of the falsified estate documents. Someone at the notary's office flagged inconsistencies. 2 days later, Owens called me directly. "Mr. Cole, I need you to come in," he said. "We're building a fraud case involving your brother. Your testimony, along with the documents you have, could be critical." "I'll bring everything," I said. "Whatever you need." The hardest conversation came from Diane. Rachel finally sat down with her, laid out everything, the forged signature, the Hale payments, the lies Marcus fed her about mismanaged funds. I wasn't there for it, but Diane called me that night, her voice barely holding together. "Ethan." Just my name, broken in half. "Mom." Rachel showed me everything. The documents. God, Ethan, the things he said about you. I read the texts myself. Her breath hitched. "I told you to stop causing trouble for your brother. I told my own son to stop defending himself while the other one destroyed him." "Mom, it's okay." "It's not okay," she cried. "I've spent 30 years thinking I loved you both equally, and the second things got hard, I picked him without even questioning it. I doubted you, Ethan. I doubted the son who never gave me a single reason to." I closed my eyes, throat tight. "You believed what he showed you. That's not the same as choosing him over me." "It feels the same," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this." "You already started," I said quietly. "You believed the truth the second you saw it. That's more than I got from him in weeks." She cried on the phone for a long time, and I let her, because some wounds need to bleed before they can heal. The company's annual investor dinner happened to fall the same week Owens opened his investigation, and Marcus, apparently unaware how close the walls had closed in, insisted on hosting it like nothing was wrong. I came anyway, Sarah at my side, the case file locked safely with our lawyer, ready the moment it needed to be used. Marcus spotted me the second I walked in, his jaw tightening. "You've got some nerve showing up here." "It's still my company too, Marcus. Legally. You'll find that out soon enough. Get out before I have you removed." Heads were starting to turn. Investors, clients, people who mattered. "Everything all right, Marcus?" one of the investors asked, stepping closer. "Everything's fine," Marcus snapped. "Too sharp, too fast. My brother was just leaving." "I don't think I will," I said calmly. "Not until everyone here understands why Detective Owens might be calling some of you this week." Marcus's face drained of color. "You wouldn't." "I don't have to do anything, Marcus. You already did it to yourself. You ungrateful." He stepped toward me, voice rising, all composure gone. "I built this company back up after Dad died. I carried this family while you sat around playing the victim. Everything I did because I deserved more than being his backup son my whole life." The room went dead silent. Every investor, every client, every eye locked on Marcus as the mask finally shattered completely, right there in front of everyone whose trust he needed most. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. He'd just done exactly what Tony warned me anger would do to me, except it wasn't me standing exposed in front of a room full of witnesses. It was him. The court proceedings took 3 months, but the outcome was decided the moment Owens laid out the evidence. The trust clause is airtight. My lawyer told me outside the courthouse, sun bright overhead like it hadn't noticed how long this winter had felt. Marcus's petition is voided. Full ownership reverts to the original 50-50 split, and given the fraud charges, the court's granting you majority control while he faces trial. And the Hale payments. Wire fraud, corporate espionage, falsifying legal documents. He's not walking away from this clean, Ethan. Not even close. I nodded, waiting to feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired, and quietly, finally, free. I saw Marcus once more before everything settled. In the courthouse hallway, Rachel's absence beside him louder than anything he could have said. She left, he said, like I'd asked. Filed for divorce last week. I heard. You happy now? You got everything. The company, Mom's sympathy, even my wife feeding you evidence behind my back. I didn't take anything from you, Marcus. My voice stayed steady, calm in a way that surprised even me. You handed it all away yourself. The forgery, the fraud, the way you talked about me like I was nothing. I just stopped covering for you. He didn't answer. For the first time since we were kids, I saw something in his eyes I never expected to see directed at himself. Regret, arriving far too late to matter. Goodbye, Marcus, I said, and walked away without waiting for a response. Diane invited me to dinner the following week. Just the two of us, something we hadn't done alone in years. I keep replaying it, she admitted over a meal neither of us really touched. Every time I chose his version of things over yours. Every time I called you the steady one like steady meant less important. Mom, let me finish. Her hands trembled around her coffee cup. I was blind, Ethan. Not because I loved you less, but because I loved easily believing the version of my family that didn't scare me. Marcus struggling never scared me. You struggling, needing help, admitting things weren't perfect, that scared me more than I ever let myself admit. I forgive you, I said quietly. I already have. You shouldn't, not this easily. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because carrying anger toward you would just be one more thing Marcus took from me. I'm not giving him that. She reached across the table, holding my hand the way she used to when I was small enough to believe her hands could fix anything. Your father would be so proud of you, she whispered. The man you became, even after everything. He knew this might happen. He protected me before I even knew I'd need it. He always did understand people better than the rest of us. Nina and Tony helped me rebuild the company from the ground up. New contracts, new clients, a name that still honored Dad but stood clean of everything Marcus had poisoned it with. Cole and Park Construction has a nice ring to it, Nina said, unveiling the new sign outside our renovated office. Cole, Park, and Blake, Tony corrected, arms crossed. I didn't survive 3 months of your emotional spiraling for nothing. I laughed, actually laughed, for what felt like the first time in months. Fine, all 3 names. Dad would like that, I added quietly, building something with people who actually showed up. The old treehouse still stood behind Mom's house, weathered but stubborn, the way Dad built everything. I climbed up one evening before the wedding, Dad's letter folded carefully in my jacket pocket, and read it once more beneath a sky turning orange at the edges. Fight with truth. That's how you honor everything I built. I traced the words with my thumb, feeling something settle inside me that had been unsteady since the day that email arrived. Family, I realized, was never really about blood. Marcus had blood. Marcus had betrayal, greed, and a hollow kind of ambition that ate everything good it touched. What I had was truth. People who stayed. People who chose me, again and again, when choosing was hard. Sarah found me up there 20 minutes later, climbing the same worn boards Dad once taught 2 boys to nail into place. You're missing your own rehearsal dinner, she said, smiling as she settled beside me. Just needed a minute with him, I said, tucking the letter back into my pocket. Ready for tomorrow. I looked out over the yard, the house, the whole life I'd nearly lost and rebuilt from nothing but truth and stubborn love. Yeah, I said, taking a hand. I think I finally am. Somewhere below us, the wind moved through the yard the same way it had when I was a boy handing nails up to my brother, believing blood alone could hold 2 people together forever. I knew better now. It wasn't blood that mattered. It was who stayed.